realized her own idiocy and her vision turned dark. Sorry, Kano. She did not have the energy now to show her thanks for the incident then. Feeling downcast, Aoi bowed to Kano again. I have become a complete burden because I'm too scared of demons to even do my duties. But now I can't even buy supplies properly. I'm really the worst. Spilling out these words, Aoi was on the verge of tears. She held back her tears as best as she could. The back of her throat was feeling warm and this sour feeling was coming from the inside of her nasal cavity. I feel so useless. I'm going to beg the boss one more time and ask if we can make the payment tomorrow. Aoi turned around when she said that. However, Kano reached her hand out towards Aoi's head and clumsily patted her head. Those were not the youthful soft hands a girl should have. Feeling the thick calloused hands that came from countless hours of training, the hands that have been fighting all the way till now to protect someone, Aoi stopped crying. Kano. Hearing that Aoi called her own name while feeling troubled, the girl showed a faint smile and held Aoi's hand. Without asking if Aoi was alright, Kano started walking without giving any warning. Aoi asked the girl who was quietly pulling her along, "Are we going back to the butterfly estate?" Kano looked indifferent and did not say anything. "But this isn't the way to the butterfly estate, and the herbs have not." Aoi turned her head, hesitating as she watched the apothecary steadily become further away. However, Kano turned a deaf ear towards her and went forward on her own. This girl was so difficult to understand at these kinds of times. Aoi sighed as she gave up. After walking for a while, Kano suddenly stopped walking. There were many people gathered on the road. What's going on? Aoi observed the scene closely. The liquor store seemed to be having some kind of activity. Is it a performance of some sort? Just as that thought crossed Aung's mind, an elegantly dressed elderly woman said, "Well, what cute girls. If you have the time, why not take a look?" After the elderly woman finished talking, she somewhat forcefully pulled the two girls' sleeves. "No, now that I look carefully, the two of you look a bit familiar. Don't be shy, go look as much as you want. The snack group's competition is very exciting." Since the event had gone on for a while, Aoi could only look into the store through the gaps between the crowd, and then she realized that a few men and women were having an eating competition. Activities involving drinking and eating a lot was a form of entertainment for the masses in the Edo era. However, it was rarely seen nowadays. 45 pieces of manju, 7 pieces of yokon, 70 pieces of yugasunasmaki, 4 pieces of pickled radish. Voices reciting numbers that were unbelievable could be heard coming over, and Aoi started doubting if she was hearing properly. Tien manju, round Japanese dessert, which is a rice flour skin with red bean filling. Yokon jelly, Japanese dessert made from red bean paste, agar and sugar. Yugasuyusmaki, a bit like manju but stickier and tends to be green bean based. The sumo wrestler who was seated right in the center had an especially shocking appetite. After finishing off a piece of yokon in a flash, he swallowed the manju one after the other. This scene actually made onlookers feel nauseous. However, Aoi was more wary of Kano's reaction, even though she never heard it directly from Kano. As the latter's family was living in extreme poverty, she was sold by her parents to a pimp. It was Shinobu and her already deceased older sister who saved her and trained her to become a demon slayer. Aoi wondered what kind of reaction Kano would have after seeing this event. "Kano." Aoi nervously looked towards Kano, who was beside her, only to see that the girl still had an expressionless face and was absently watching the competition. Eating large amounts of food not to satisfy their hunger or for survival but purely for entertainment. Looking at the profile of the girl who was observing the competition, for some strange reason, Aoi found it hard to bear. "Let's go." Now it was Aoi's turn to pull Kano's hand. Seeing that Aoi was holding her hand, a curious expression appeared on Kano's face, and the latter silently looked at her. Just as Aoi planned to bring Kano out of the place, just like that, a scream came from the crowd. Turning her head to take a look, the sumo wrestler had collapsed onto the ground and the manju fell from his hand, rolling onto the floor. Yugu, the young wrestler, groaned for a while, his face ashen, and not long after his eyes rolled upwards and he lost consciousness. At the same time, lots of white foam spilled out from his mouth. What happened? Did the manju get stuck in his throat? Hey, quick, pry his mouth open. Should we give him water? The men started discussing, words flying everywhere. It seemed like they were going to handle this the wrong way. No one, she thought that. Her body started to move. Excuse me, please let me through. Let me." Aoi forced her way through the crowd. She knelt down next to the wrestler and checked his breathing, pulse, pupil dilation, buccal cavity, as well as his bowel sounds in that sequence. Right after that, the color drained from Aoi's face. "I was right, this is not as simple as choking on food. In actual fact, the situation was extremely critical. Even so, if Shinobu was around, she would definitely know how to deal with it. However, the only person here was her. Can she hold the responsibility for a person's life? this was herself who could not even face a demon, but I have to do it. If not, this person will. Ao bit her lower lip and thought back to the first aid and management for this kind of situation that she read about in medical books. After taking a few deep breaths, she said to the crowd of onlookers, this person needs emergency treatment, or his life will be in danger. I need someone to get a nearby doctor over. A man nearby shouted, understood, I'll go, and immediately ran off. Afterwards, Aoi turned to Kano, who was beside her. Kano, ask the shop staff to prepare what I'm about to say. Aoi urgently listed down some basic tools found at treatment centers. Just as she finished her message, she remembered that Kano would not take action just like this. Quick, toss your coin. But once she turned her head, she saw that Kano's back as the girl had ran into the store. Kano had not received orders from her superior Shinobu, and yet she was able to agree to Aoi's request without tossing her coin to decide. Even though she was confused and agitated by it, Aoi turned her head back to look at her patient. Then she heard a yell from the crowd. A young man who was obviously not of a decent character emerged from the crowd, his arms hidden under his clothes at his belly. What's this, little lady? I put a lot of money on this wrestler. He can continue the competition once he spits out the thing stuck in his throat, right? Don't disturb the competition by saying such alarming things. The man spoke to threaten her, and alcohol could be smelled from his breath. Perhaps he made a bet with a friend and he could not accept that the match was interrupted, so he reached his hand towards the wrestler. Aoi became enraged and she forcefully slapped the hand away. Didn't you hear what I just said? This person needs emergency treatment or his life will be in danger. You're in the way of treatment. Please leave. What did you say? You bitch. The man's face changed color and he tried to grab Aum. Aoi quickly avoided the attack and she grabbed the man's arms and flung him onto the ground. Even if she was a useless squad member, Aoi still endured through hellish trainings. Anything at this man's level was nothing to her. I am going to ask you to leave. You, if you still don't understand after this and come here again, I'm going to break both your arms. Aoi narrowed her eyes coldly and finished her statement. The man gulped. It was not known if the threat worked. The man started to hurl words of anger and left behind a "you'll remember this." Before leaving, the crowd of onlookers became excited. Everyone please remain calm. After giving such as order, Ao repositioned the wrestler's body. After ensuring that his airway was completely patent, Kano also just happened to run over with all the things that were required. If not for these two girls, this sumo wrestler would have already lost his life. The doctor, who rushed over in the nick of time, said. The onlookers who were still at the site cheered, and intermittently one could hear people saying, "That's great, good job, Ara, you two are pretty good." The elderly lady who spoke to the two was also within the crowd. The elderly lady said those words with an expression of awe, then she turned around to face the liquor shop owner who hosted this event and forcefully slapped his round shoulder. Kei Yoshitaro, remember to give these two girls a gift as thanks. If someone actually died, it would have caused a lot of trouble.